Buonanotte, everybody. Welcome back to Calcio Culture. As we said earlier in the week, it's an international break, so we're going to be mixing things up a little bit today. We have a lot of quick shouts, a lot of interesting quick shouts, some discussion from me and Motts to be had today. And then we're going to go ahead and do a power rankings. 20-1 we'll go, and we're going to go through every team, see where we're at. We have a little bit better of idea what's going on 7 games in. I think we're going to try to do a power rankings once a month, just kind of do a decent check-in. But with that, Motts, you just woke up from your nap. You saw Lindor grand slam in the playoffs
Grand
for the Mets.
salami. Hey, how are you? Hey, how are
Perfect
you?
timing.
Francisco. Not that I'm a Mets fan. Also, not really a Yankees fan. Just kind of watch baseball during the playoffs, which baseball playoff is kind of electric. Not going to lie.
Playoff baseball is electric for sure.
Yeah, kind of electric.
Yeah,
But no Logs today. Motts and Vos coming at you right at home. Oh, you should go, actually. Oh, well, we're actually live, Ted. Oh, how was I supposed to know that? Do you know what that's from?
Is that from Ted Lasso?
Yeah, but it's from the second YouTube commercial when he tried to be his pundit career. Such good YouTube commercials, though. They were so good. They ended up making a show. As you can see, I'm talking about nothing, full of energy because I just woke up from a nap. It is 8 o'clock when we're recording this, so not going to sleep tonight. That's going to be great. But let's get into it.
Let's get into it. You are full of fucking energy right now. Holy shit. Quick shouts. We're going to start it off. Couple of MLS shouts. The first thing, former U.S. men's national coach Greg Berhalter. Motts, you heard of that guy?
Who is that?
Yeah, you don't know who he is.
We don't mention his name.
I'm only mentioning it. This is going to be in passing. He just got hired by the Chicago Fire. For me, if you're coaching the men's national team and then you go to an MLS job, I don't know how you were in the men's national team job. It's extremely unacceptable that this is the level we stoop to. And it's even crazier when you look back and realize they hired an outside firm to figure out who to hire, and that's what they ended up with.
No joke. Like I'm being very serious when I say this. I actually I don't know who that guy is. Like I don't know who we're talking about right now.
Okay, perfect. That's good for me.
I don't know who that is. No joke.
I know you don't. I don't know. This guy, you'll know who he is. MVP, MLS MVP shortlist came out. Obviously, Lionel Messi on it. I have no idea if he's had a good season, but I think no matter what, they're going to give it to him no matter what happens.
I was scrolling on Twitter, I think it was like 2 days ago, and I saw it was like 17 games. He had 17 goals and 10 assists. That could not be true at all. I didn't fact check it. He could have 1 goal and 1 assist in 20 games. He will win the MVP. It doesn't matter, like you just said. It's going to be Messi.
Yeah, it's 100% going to be Messi. Kind of going into a little bit of Serie A news, kind of not, kind of this guy's just in no man's land. Paul Pogba, now, when is he reinstated? 6 months from now or something like that? 3 months?
Can practice in January, can play in March. Yeah, he's got MLS rumors. I was scrolling on OneFootball this morning. They should sponsor us, by the way. Love that app. Get a lot of football news there. Barcelona could be interested. Saudi kind of interested. Kind of all over the place. I'm sure he's just going to go get however much money he can. The highest bidder.
That's what I thought. That's why I thought it'd be Saudi, but MLS is the one that I've seen more.
Well, maybe
he screams Saudi guy.
He does, but maybe the MLS will do like a similar setup with what they did with Messi, where it's like you can own half of the league as well. Like,
I don't think they're gonna give it to Paul Pogba coming off the doping ban.
Who knows?
Who knows? Another anniversary this week. We had Iniesta retire. We had the 9-year anniversary of Jurgen Klopp's appointment at Liverpool. And then also this week, his return to soccer. So I want to talk about both of these things. Number one, on the 9-year anniversary day, there was a bunch of like tweets going around, like Instagrams, videos, all sorts of things. When you look back at what he did at Liverpool, it's actually insane. Kind of when we were growing up and starting to like really love soccer, Liverpool was actually kind of like a joke. Like you wouldn't
laughing stock of the league.
You literally wouldn't have even considered being a Liverpool fan as like an American. And now he's taken them to be top 5 biggest clubs in the world right now, probably.
Yeah, them and City, easily the best 2 teams in the Premier League. The only person that would have thought about being a Liverpool fan growing up is Potts, because of Steven G. But yeah, they fully were the laughing stock of the league. Then Klopp came and made them a very, very respectable, feared squad. And you can only assume that Klopp is going to do the same as the new head of global football for Red Bull. Though it contains a lot of teams, it contains Leipzig, New York Red Bull. It contains Leeds, which I thought was crazy. Um,
Salzburg. There's a lot of
Salzburg, and
teams.
then there's two other ones I'm forgetting.
No, there's even more than that. It's endless. There's so
Oh,
many
okay.
teams.
Well, he's the head of global. He's helping them with philosophy, with coaching. But I saw in the contract there is a clause that allows Klopp to leave if he can get the German national team job, which is basically just saying
That
whenever
might be very soon.
yeah, whenever Lowe's boy, whenever he gets fired, it's clearly like they're just gonna be like, all right, let's just go to Klopp because he literally set it up for the exit strategy.
Wait, who
I
is the
think
national team coach?
the old coach of Bayern, Logs hates him. I forgot his name.
Tycho?
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
Julian Nagelsmann. Julian Nagelsmann. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God, he's
So
that'd be
I don't know. I
crazy.
don't know if they approached Klopp. Probably not because he was with Liverpool, and when he did his exit interview, he was like, "I'm just too tired. I can't coach now." Obviously, international coaching is a lot less stressful and a lot less intense than club level. But this would be a big dick move for Klopp to just be like, "I'm gonna make it known that I want the job. I'm gonna." Take a
Put it
job and then put it in a contract that if the German national team offers me, I can leave.
fully just putting it in their court. I'm here waiting for you guys. I think that would be a very good appointment on the current situation. The job that he's going into, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like get back into soccer in like a less intensive role. And I think he's helping with recruitment and stuff like that. So I think
Mhm.
he's actually going to do a really good job in this. And this is probably like a perfect stay in tune with things, especially in Germany, because Leipzig's obviously really big there. And then, I mean, he's going to get the national team job. It's just a matter of time then, realistically.
Exactly. And I mean, there's no reason to think he's not going to succeed. He's succeeded everywhere he's been, and he's loved everywhere he goes. So he's probably going to do a great job. And then he'll probably do a great job when he gets the national job.
Legend of the game. But going on back to Serie A, we have one more not so serious topic. Leonardo Bonucci. This is some really funny stuff. I saw videos and pictures of him like doing like a medical basically, and I was like, "Wait, what the fuck's going on?" Turns out Bonucci is back at the Juve training facility with the doctors, with everybody, but he's training for the London Marathon, and they're all helping him, which I just thought was very funny.
That's just a great ran organization allowing a legend to come back and train for a marathon. I'm sure Bernucci also saw that his boy Chiellini has came back to Juve at
Mm.
obviously different level. He's not training for a marathon, but he was like, I got to be next to my boy Chiellini. Also, funny story that I heard about Bonucci. Not funny, very good story that I heard about Bonucci. He was on Bella Union. Is that the team name in Germany that he was on for like
Oh, Union Berlin. Yeah.
Union Berlin, facts, for like a week, and a player on Union Berlin got into a car accident or a motorcycle accident, I forgot which one, and lost his leg. So obviously cannot play football anymore. And Bonucci donated like 50 grand to that guy. So good feels for Bonucci. Was his teammate for a week, still donated. Now training for the marathon. Wants to be a coach. Bonucci. This is not the last time we're hearing from Bonucci about the London Marathon.
Yeah, true. I like how Juve kind of brings guys back too. It seems to be, I don't know, it's just the culture at Juve is very good right now, I
Yeah,
would say.
because we're a
Yeah.
great
No,
Juventus
they
is
are.
a
No, they are. They're
fantastically
a
ran
great one.
organization.
They are. I agree. Going to an organization that is not in the best of shape in Milan. We had two. We're talking about Milan back to back here. AC Milan. Some things coming out today about Teo Hernandez. A little bit of a saga, Mats.
Teo Hernandez's contract expires what, next summer, is it, or is it this summer?
I think it's this summer.
This summer, and so that means he's one of Milan's best players. Milan obviously do not want to lose him for free. He's also one of the best players in the league, so he's going to ask for a salary to be paid as one of the best players in the league. He's right now requesting to be paid $8 million per year. Milan has recently rejected that bid, trying to find a middle ground. We'll see if they can make that happen. Once again, though, as I mentioned earlier today, was scrolling on One Football. Please sponsor us. We would love it. And I saw that if Milan fumble the bag on this Hernandez deal before February rolls around, guess who's on the prowl? Juventus interested in possibly going after him. I don't see it. I feel like he does love Milan. I feel like if he were to not renew with AC, he will end up just leaving the league. I hope it doesn't happen because we want to keep the talent in the league. What are your thoughts?
I think he'd be a bad fit at Juve in what Monto wants to do. That's number one. And then number two, it expires June 2026, so they have one more season. And this could partially be that they're kind of fed up with his antics and like how he's been, and they're just saying, well, we might sell you in the summer kind of thing. We're not even going to deal with this, which wouldn't be that crazy to me. We talked about it for the last couple of weeks that he doesn't seem interested. There's already a rift with Fonseca. We don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, whether or not they're backing Fonseca, backing the players. And they're also AC Milan as a team is very scarred with these free transfers that they have endured
All
over the
Serie
last couple
A
of years.
is, I think.
I mean, but
Juventus
we've had some
is.
crazy ones like Donnarumma, free transfer, Kessier, free transfer when he was potentially like a
Hmm.
60, 70 million euro player at the time. And me and Lokes have just been pulling our hair out about this for the last couple of years. So it could also be a piece of that.
Yeah, I agree with the first point that you were saying. Like Tio is, he's clearly, I mean, he's showing week in and week out. He is not the guy that you want to be the leader of your team, right?
Certainly not.
On France, he's not the leader. He is a great, great player to have. He's almost like not a, I don't want to say a luxury because if you have him playing left back, he's one of the best left backs in the world, but he has a bad attitude at points, and if your best player has a bad attitude, it trickles down the line. It thinks everyone thinks they can have a bad attitude, and so I wouldn't be shocked if Milan tried to cash in on him, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they still renew his contract because then they can get more money for
Yeah.
him in order to cash in.
Yeah, this will be an ongoing one, I think, for a long time. I don't think this deal is anywhere close to being done. It seems like they kind of just pissed each other off this week. Another deal that I guess this kind of came around this week, or came to light this week. Something happened at Manchester United in the summer, a little bit. It's another Serie A link, and they had Xerxes, and maybe they were checking out the league a little bit more, like we've been telling them to.
Yeah, so also Inzaghi's contract, they renewed him for a year this year as well. So his contract was somewhat coming to an end in the summer. So there was an opening, and rumors are now coming out that Manchester United did inquire about Inzaghi to try to have him become the manager of Manchester United as Ten Hag was possibly rumored to leave. He rejected them to stay at Inter. I think great move by Inzaghi. Sometimes you can get kind of hypnotized by the name of Manchester United because they one of the biggest clubs in the world forever. Although since the last like 10 years, I'd say that hasn't been the case. But over the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years, they were the biggest club in the Prem. So that kind of like when they come knocking, not a lot of players say no. Inzaghi did. Smart move by him, I think. Inter's way better setup now, better setup for the future, better management structure, just better everything, not a dumpster fire. I think he would have quickly regretted his decision, as we've seen a lot of players regret their decision the second they moved to Man U.
Definitely. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, I think any manager would have said, "I'm going to Man U," and that's not the case anymore. I mean, like you just said, Inter's a much better run club at this point, and this like mask that we've put on Man U that they're like this great legendary club. I think in the last probably 2 years has started to come off, and people aren't seeing them as really a major club anymore. I think people that are growing up now don't really understand why people are like, "Oh, Manchester United, like this big club." And they're really just falling off the face of the earth very quickly. They still have deep pockets, and they've been flexing those. But we've also seen players say, "I don't want to go to Man U now." And 5 or 6 years ago, you couldn't even imagine that being the case. Like Radamel
Yeah.
Falcao was there on loan when he was in like the prime of his career. Ibrahimovic was there when he's in the prime of his career. And now it's like they're kind of fighting for the scraps and not doing a good job of it.
But even when Falcao and Ibra were there, Di
Dumpster
Maria,
fire.
they couldn't finish in the top four. They couldn't figure it out. And so it's been I would say it's been from the last 10, almost 10 years now.
Since
They've been
Ferguson
a
left. Yeah.
dumpster fire. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really insane. I don't know how they have managed to fuck this up, but what it does show is the draw of Serie A is catching up, and there's a reason you stay at Inter Milan You're one of the best teams in the league. You can compete in the Champions League, and those are things you can't do at Man U, which is a major statement.
Correct.
Some other things going on in the series, especially after this weekend. A little bit questionable refereeing. I had thought the refereeing would actually been pretty good so far this season.
Me too. Up until what last match week, I
Yeah,
hate the Milan game was terrible refereeing.
terrible referees, and it really came down to VAR, PKs. It seems like I don't know if this is the league or this was just a weekend thing, and I would assume the refereeing federation kind of came together to have a discussion about where they're going to draw the line. But essentially, this weekend they were giving away PKs for any sort of contact in the box whatsoever. Like it was out of hand, and I don't think that's what it should be. Whether or not that's the rule, I really don't know. I don't think anybody knows, which is why it's up for interpretation. But essentially, what it seems like and what was happening this weekend is they were if you made contact anywhere in the box, it was a PK basically. Like Moise Kean tried to clear the ball. Like I don't think he did anything wrong, and somebody just dangled a leg and like he
Even
got it.
Tio, same thing for Tio.
Yeah, same thing too. Like that is not a PK.
No, sir. And I mean, they're giving away PKs. There's a stat that came out the other day. In the Serie A, they've given out in the last 70 games, they've given out 32 PKs. In La Liga, in the last 90 games, so 20 games more, they've given out 28 PKs. So 20 games more to give out four PKs less four less PKs. In the Bundesliga, 54 games and they've given out 23 PKs. And then in the Prem, it's 70 games and they gave out 12. So the Serie A is leading that by a large margin. And like you said, they're giving out ticky tack fouls. You could be 1 inch in the box and be dribbling away from goal, and someone slightly touches your shoelace. VAR is going to come in. It's going to be a PK. They got to figure out. They got to get a handle on this. I don't want to put it directly on the refs because I agree with you. Like you said, the refs, I have thought, in my opinion, up until that Milan Fiorentina game, have been very, very good. They just have to realize not every ticky tack. It takes more contact in the box to give that PK. You cannot give the same foul that you would give at half field is not a foul in the box. You need to do it needs to be egregious. There needs to be more. Like Reinders one was a PK, clear PK. That should have been the one PK that was given that game.
I agree. The level for PK needs to be a little bit higher, 100%. And there has to be more like consideration around the contact, really.
Yeah, and I think the second you see the ref make the little VAR logo or whatever you want to call it with his hand, it's going to be a PK. It's almost
Yeah, it
I would
is.
say
That's true.
99%, and they take maybe 5 seconds. They look at the screen, boom, okay, PK. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I do want to say one more thing because I don't think I've actually said this on here, but I've kind of said it in like talking to different people. And I don't know if this will ever be instated, if there's a way to do it, but I'm going to start saying it now until it happens. I would like them in the VAR era, what things have become to start giving out yellow cards for diving after games because I think that would help the refs a lot too. And it would take time, and I think players would be mad about this. But if you start giving them out after the game, it doesn't affect the match, but you're still punishing players, and you're not giving that. That's a very hard decision for the ref to make in the game. And I think if you take it out of the context, the game's over. Oh, but this was definitely a dive, and start giving out yellow cards for like accumulation, because then you get suspended for
You get
accumulating yellow
suspended. I
cards
like
as a
that.
forward.
I like that. I saw on Instagram like a while ago that they were thinking about doing a blue card where the blue card would mean you leave the pitch
Yeah,
for 5 minutes or so on egregious fouls. I think they should do that blue card for flops. If you flop, you're off the field for 5 minutes just because I hate the flops. I understand it's part of the game. If you egregiously flop and you're rolling around the fucking field for 20 goddamn minutes and then you get up and you play the rest of the 90, you clearly did not get that hurt. It wasn't that egregious of a foul. Clean that up, take that out. But I think yours is more logical and I would love to see it, but that will obviously never happen, unfortunately.
it won't ever happen. I don't know why. I'm gonna keep bringing it up. I'm just gonna keep saying it until it comes to fruition because I don't think it's that crazy to do. Like it's
I
pretty
like it.
doable.
Yeah. And it also cleans up the dives, which is
Yeah,
what we
and the
want.
dives are out of control, and it makes it so much harder for the refs because now like everybody's hammering the refs, but I mean they're seeing it live and like
It's a
we see
bang
it
bang
live.
play. It's tough
It
to.
just
It's tough.
it's so hard, and so
Yeah,
I always struggle to be like hammering the refs because
same. I
that's not
agree.
an easy job.
I was a ref in intramurals for college, and like I would forget that my job was to call fouls. So
All right, that's
I would be
you
talking to
never.
myself. I'd be like, "Oh shit, that's a foul," and then realize, "Oh god, I need to call that."
That's hilarious,
Yeah.
Moss.
So ever since then, I cut the refs some slacks.
We'll give him slack. But that's it for quick shots. That was a long one. We didn't have a ton to talk about today, so I guess that worked. But that was a good conversation, Moss.
Great
I'm happy you had
combo.
the
We
energy
love
today. You really brought it.
everybody loves quick shout as a segment, and so we made it go a little long. It's Logue's favorite segment. We said, hey, Logues isn't here. Let's double it because it's usually 10 minutes or so. Let's go 20.
Perfect, perfect. But that brings us into power rankings, Mods. And we did this before we got on. We actually both have our own list today. Last time we did like a kind of a collective, just because it's the two of us, will make it easy to just talk about. This was really hard for me, and I think I saw it in you too, because like at the bottom of the table, in the middle of the table, and then the top half of the table, each one of those in their own way were very tough to decide.
It was real hard. It was super hard. I kept going back and forth, kept switching, flip flopping teams. It's tough because you want the power rankings is obviously who the team that's playing the best right now or the hottest right now, not necessarily the team the this is not necessarily where we think they're going to finish, right? This is hey, if you play this team right now, they're probably going to win because they're hot. This could power rankings can drastically change in 3 matches, right? Because a team could go from winning 3 games in a row to losing 3 games in a row, and that drops them far down. So I think power rank balancing the power ranking, like the and just in the back of your brain, you're always thinking, oh well, I don't think this team's actually going to finish in this spot. But it's not about that. It's about how hot they are right now. So I think that is tough to balance and makes power rankings hard on top of the fact that there's not a whole lot of separating any of these teams.
No, there is not a lot. I mean, there's not a lot of points in the table, like actual points. Like all the teams are good, like skill level, and then actual points. It's very tight.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
let's get into it. Let's do 20 to 15 or 20 to 16. So that's relegation battle plus the next two spots outside of it. I'll let you start it off. You want to rattle them off?
I have Lecce at number 20. I know that right now on the table they're 17, but they won their first game a long time ago. 2 draws, 2 losses in their last 4. And the big reason why I have them so low is because they've only scored 3 goals. 19, I have Calgary. I put them there because they just tied Juventus, so they can go fuck themselves. Um, 18, I have Genoa. Just lost a lot of players. They don't score that many goals. 17, I have Venezia. I know that they're in 20th right now, but Venezia put up fights a lot of games. I think their goal differential is kind of not realistic because Milan buried them when they played. And if it wasn't for that, they'd have a much better goal differential. And then 16, I have Parma. As you know, I think they're frauds. They get a red card every game. They can score goals. They let in a lot of goals. And I think that this is going to be where they end up for the most part.
Okay. There's one team that I am flabbergasted that they are not on that list for you because that team I have in 20 in Monza, who I don't know how you don't have in last in power rankings. They're the only team without a win.
Yeah, but they also have 4 draws, and they've scored more goals than Lecce. They've scored just as many goals as Genoa. They've scored just as many goals as Venezia, and they have less losses. So they just can't figure out how to win. But they don't lose as much as the other teams.
All right. I have Monza there because you gotta win. You have to win a game. That's 7 games without a win, dude. That is unacceptable no matter what team you are.
Okay, yeah, maybe
19
that might be
19, I have Genoa because right now they're leaking goals. I think they have the most goals conceded. Yeah, most goals conceded in the league. Not doing well. No wins last 5. 4 losses last 5 is also very bad. 18, I have Lecce. Like Mott said, they kind of overachieved to start, I would say, and we're seeing more of what they're kind of teetering out to be. Further than that, from just watching them, they're not very good.
Oh,
Like
brutal
their
watch.
squad isn't great. Tactically, they're weak. And that's what's going to push this next team. I have Venezia and then Cagliari. So I have Venezia 17. And it was honestly tough for me to put them this low because we've talked about them so much. They're good.
I
They're
like
just
their
not
center
getting
mids.
the results.
Duncan and Hans Calusi are good players.
Yeah, no, they're good. They're definitely good. And I think they're going to actually finish a little bit higher than this because they're better than Cagliari, in my opinion. They're definitely better than the other three I mentioned. The reason I have Cagliari at 16 is that they're even harder to break down, I think, than Venezia have been. And they've been a little bit more clinical on the other end. And this is also coming off the back of a draw at Juventus, which is probably one of the three hardest games to play in the league during the year.
Yeah, that's why I
And they
put
also
them
have a little
low.
bit more experience with some of the players that they have. Is so I like them still.
Yeah, I don't disagree with them being higher than where I have them. I'm just pissed off at them right now. But I should actually be pissed off at Juventus because they're the ones that didn't get the job done. But before we move on, I just want to go back to Venezia and tell the Paisanos they are obviously where are they in the standings? They're 19 right now?
19, yeah.
Listen to who they played to start the season: Lazio, Fiorentina, Torino, Milan, Genoa, Roma, and Hellas Verona. So besides Genoa, you have a lot of teams that are like the top of the table, or Hellas Verona, who's like we all know is a very hard team to beat. That is such a difficult schedule to start the season off.
That might be the hardest schedule anybody's had to start.
Yeah, I just
That's
realized
that's
that.
terrible. That's actually for a newly promoted team too. Like it's not like they're like a Serie A veteran. That's miserable. So
Yeah,
they're
that's
going to come
bad.
out of this good, I think.
Once they start playing those Lecce, Monza, Calgary, I think that they're going to be in that 15, 16, 15, 13 area.
What do you want to do now? 15 to 12?
Yeah, 15 to 12. I have Monza. We talked about it. Maybe I was wrong here. As I mentioned before, it's about the form right now, right? Their last five games, 3 draws, 2 losses, only 5 goals. What I will say, and I think why I put them a little bit higher than the other ones, is because they've only allowed 9 goals, right? Genoa's allowed 15, Venezia's allowed 12, although I just rattled off who they played. Lecce's allowed 12, Calgary's allowed 11. So they are hard to break down. They just also can't score. 14, I have Hellas Verona. They're kind of it's tough. I don't know. They're a very exciting team to watch, but they end up not getting the result a lot of
Yeah.
times, right? They're in every game, they're scoring a lot of goals, and then they botch it and they don't get a result, and that shows by 3 losses in their last 5 games, but they do have 2 wins. Like they're not getting a point, which sometimes you need to just get that point. 13, I have Bologna. Bologna is the opposite, right? They just can't win, but they're getting a point every single time. So if they can figure out how to win, they will probably shoot up this table. They also cannot score. They're hard to break down. Obviously, Italiano's team always has the ball, but 7 goals in 7 games is just not going to get it done. And then 12, I have the Little Boys by the Lake. I really like this team. They play strong. They play attractive football. They score goals. A little weak defensively, having 14 goals allowed, but they go and give it to two teams, and they've had some tough games and tough wins. And I have Atalanta higher than Bologna because of them off of a fresh win at Atalanta.
All right, cool. I agree with some of these. Starting 15 for me, this is where I have Parma. We were really hot on them. I'm still hot on them. They've just shown a tremendous amount of immaturity, is the way I would describe it. Like they're playing like they're young, ton of red cards, and just putting themselves in really bad situations. We still see that they could be like a dominant attacking, counterattacking team, but they're conceding too much and they're not maintaining leads when they do get them. And that nothing's been solved yet, right? They've kind of gotten worse. They haven't gotten better. And it's mostly because of decision making, which is why I have them here. In 14, I have Hellas Verona as well. I think you hit the nail on the head here. They're good. They're very good. They just need to tighten it up defensively. And maybe off the back, they had a very emotional win, I'll call it, against Venezia at home this past weekend. And the head coach Zanetti, like you saw how much it meant to him. It was a big one for the team because that would have been 4 in a row without a win. and they needed that one. So I could see them coming out of this and start to roll again. But you can't, you like you said, this is a league where you need to get results sometime, and it is defense first. As exciting as it is, defense gets you through in this league, and Verona haven't even attempted to do that. In 13, I have Como. I'm coming around to the little lads at the lake, and
Nico Paz.
I'm liking a lot of the stuff they're doing. But the teams I have above them have just been a bit better, I think, and I don't think they deserve to. You have them Bologna leapfrogging Bologna. I still think Bologna have tighter control of games. Like they're going to lose less than Como is, even though they're maybe not going to score a lot or win a lot. They're still going to be better. And I actually have Bologna not in 12. In 12, I have Torino. And the only reason they have not higher on the list for me is because of what just happened this weekend in Duvan Zapata. That was a big hit for them. And they might come out of this and be very good, but I have several teams ahead of them now that I would have otherwise not, because they're not doing anything wrong, in my opinion. Everything that Vanoli has instilled in this team is very good. Ricci is playing very well. You go through the whole team, everybody's playing well. The structure is there. They're built to be in every game, no matter who the opponent is. They're built to get a result in every game, no matter who the opponent is, and probably steal more wins than the rest. But it's going to be a very turbulent couple of weeks to figure out what they are without Zapata because of how good he's been. And that's why I have them in at 12.
Yeah, I think what you just said there, a very turbulent couple of weeks, is going to really tell the story because they're gonna have to figure out how they're gonna get goals, right? And that's going to cause them to struggle and could shoot down the table. And that's why I actually have them at 11, right? I have them right next to you, just one higher. And the reason I have them just one higher is because that they are playing well. They're seventh in the table, 12 goals, right? 2, 1, and 2 in their last 5, so not terrible for them. They had Inter got an early red card that could have been different if they don't get a red card, but without having their best striker and goal scorer, they had to shoot down the table. But I kind of jumped ahead there and let everyone know what my 11 is. So we'll go from what 11 to 8 now. You
Yeah, and
want
they'll
to
do
do?
top seven potential European spots, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then 10, I have Fiorentina, right? Right now they're sitting 11th at the table. They have no losses in their last 3 games, 2 wins. They're 9 goals for, 8 goals against. Very similar boat to me in the Como and Bologna with Fiorentina, right? They kind of don't always score, but can score don't but can't score in the games that they need to score. But it does look like Goodmanson is now back. Hopefully, he can continue to play because now he's obviously scoring 3 goals in 3 games, and if he's going to be there game in and game out, you would expect them to score goals, right? So I have them at 10. I have maybe a little shocking here at number 9. I have Udinese. Udinese is currently 5th at the table on the table. However, if you look at the games Udinese has played and won, they are not good teams. They beat Lecce, they beat Parma, they beat Como when Como was still trying to figure it out. Lazio was a good win. They tied Bologna, and then they lost to Roma 3-0, and they lost to Inter 3-2. So that's why I have Udinese at 9 and Roma at 8, because Roma and Udinese have played and Roma schooled them. Now, Roma cannot seem to figure their shit out, right? It seems like one day they look like they're going to be good again, and then the next game they go tie 1-1, or they look like they should have lost to Venezia. So I don't have Roma higher. Roma should be higher on this table. They're not because they can't get out of their own way. They only have 8 goals and 5 conceded. So as you just mentioned, defense is what is going to get you far in this league. So 5 goals conceded in 7 games is great, but in their last 5 matches, 3 draws, 2 wins. As a team like Roma, that needs to be 4 wins and 1 draw, right? Especially with who they play in the last 5 games: Udinese, Roma, Venezia,
So
yeah, Empoli, Juventus. So like Empoli is hot right now, but you need to beat them. Genoa, you tied to. Monza you tied to. So these are games you got to win. And so that's why I have Roma at 8.
Yeah, and I'm gonna piggyback off of that. I had Bologna at 11, and I think we've talked about them enough in the last couple of weeks. What they keep the ball with no end result, and that they either don't concede and they don't score, or they score and they concede. For whatever reason, they can't figure that out yet. Which is why I have them at 11. I have Roma at 10. They get past Bologna for me because of strength of squad mostly. But Roma is doing nothing right. They're not defending well and they're not attacking well, which is why I have them so low now. Under De Rossi, at least, they had the defense figured out. And I'm not saying this is Juric's fault because he really hasn't had time to build this team the way he needs them to be built. But in this Monza game, the goal they conceded was kind of like the goals they were conceding at the beginning of the season under De Rossi, where the defense kind of just switches off randomly and like it's just a bad result. And then attacking, I don't see anything, any progress. I haven't seen any progress from the beginning of the season. Dovbyk still isn't receiving service. The goal he even scored against Monza, people really liked. I think I liked it a lot less than a lot of people because he kind of made bad decisions that just ended up getting him to that point. And then even the shot very easily could have been blocked, and it was fortunate that it didn't. Soule hasn't really started to do anything right either. Their best winger has maybe been El Shaarawy, and he's not even playing in every game. The midfielders, Pellegrini has been abysmal, I think. I'm going to continue to say it because he deserves to be hammered for it. He should be scoring. I would say the only positive thing at this point is Angelino has been pretty good at left center back, even though we don't think he should be there. And then the other two things are Baldanzi and Pizzilli coming through, but they're only going to do so much.
So here's say you're 9, and then I have a question for you.
I got to flip this actually now that I'm looking at it. Was this your question?
No, say you're 9 and 8, and then I'll ask my question.
Okay, so my number 9 is AC Milan, and they played Fiorentina this weekend and lost that game. I have Fiorentina at 8.
That's smart. Didn't realize that.
Do you want me to keep talking, or are you going to say your question?
Oh yeah. Well, so my question would be, I see Roma and Fiorentina very similar, right? They both have, like, Roma has one extra goal than them Fiorentina has one extra goal in them with Roma has 8, Fiorentina has 9. Roma have 3 less goals conceded at 5, and Fiorentina have 8. So my question to you is, why do you have Fiorentina that much higher than Roma if they're kind of that very, very similar?
I would say off of form, right? Like what we've seen from the Fiorentina players, like Moise Kean, very good right now.
Mm-hmm.
Gudmundsson, very good right now. Yassine Adli, very good right now. Ikone playing well. Baragi playing very well. De Gea playing very well. And like you go through the team and you see guys playing well, and I see progress happening. And again, this is like a power ranking of where we are right now. So for me, it's if Roma and Fiorentina played right now, I would very heavily be backing Fiorentina, honestly.
I'm looking at Fiorentina's last 3 games as well. I'll go take it at 4. 3-2 against Atalanta. They took it to Atalanta. Tough loss. Beat Lazio, who's hot. Empoli 0-0. It's tough to break down Empoli, but they didn't lose. And then they beat Milan. So those are 4 pretty strong teams and 3 good results.
Yeah, and I'm actually, after the Milan game, I'm very hot on them because I would have expected this Fiorentina team to come into that game and not be able to match that sort of energy level where it's like a game of just like determination. Whoever's more determined to win is going to win. And that was very impressive to me. And again, I'm going to keep saying how impressed I was with Moise Kean because I really couldn't believe it. And on the flip side of things, at 9, this kind of knocked Milan down a peg. Milan, I'm still kind of lost with where I am, honestly. And day to day, it sort of changes. And I think it's probably the same way with the club itself. And I would say even Fonseca and even the players. And like this just trickles down to Milan fans. I'm interested to see how you feel about them. I think you have them higher, so you probably feel better than I do.
I have them much higher.
But for me, I mean, last 5 games, 3 wins, a draw, and a loss. That's pretty good. But what I'm scared about them is I don't know what I'm going to get next week. Like every week, it's something new. Now, like the big story is Tomori is probably going to come out of the team, and Pavlovic is going to come in. Teo Hernandez doesn't know if he wants to stay. The right back situation is still insanity. Rafael Leao hasn't done shit. We had 2 missed penalties this past weekend when Pulisic didn't take one and was supposed to be. And like, there are so many problems going on. The fact that they're ranked above Roma to me is a little bit crazy even, but I think it is still strength of squad and they are good enough to kind of will some games across the line. Even though I think Roma's roster is maybe stronger, like none of the players on Roma are playing well. There are players on Milan playing well. Pulisic is playing very well.
Yeah,
Gabia is one of the best defenders in the league right now. Mike Magnan is obviously very good. And regardless of the missed penalty,
Reinders,
I think Tammy Abraham and Alvaro Morata have been very good.
correct. I agree with every point you made about Milan. They are all over the place. They're hot, they're cold, but they are starting to figure it out. They have shown that, as you mentioned, with in the last 5 games, 1 draw, 3 wins, and a loss. But they could easily the next game not have it figured out and stink. So I agree. I think they're still a little low for them for a team that has the second most amount of goals. But their problem has never been goal scoring. It's always going to been defending. So I think that they deserve to be higher. But your points that you made were valid.
Here's a question for you. Their next 3 games: Udinese at home, at Bologna, Napoli at home. I could see Fonseca being fired after these 3
No,
games.
they're going to beat Udinese. They're going to beat Bologna, and they'll probably lose to Napoli.
You think they're going to beat Udinese and Bologna like lock on?
I do. Bologna don't score. Milan score goals. Milan. I mean, maybe Ndoye will take advantage of that left back. You guys
And
or your
Doy's been
right back.
very good.
Yeah, but I still think Bologna don't score enough to keep up with Milan. Milan score goals, and I think that Milan being at home will give them the edge against Udinese. Udinese tend to struggle away from their home stadium.
Yeah, but Milan have been in the last couple of years not great at home. That's the thing. I think they crumble a little bit under the pressure.
I still think they get it done, but we'll
All right.
see. We'll see.
Well, no, we're definitely
7. Let's go
let's do
one by
7.
one
Let's
here.
do 7 to 5. So like
I would go
non
one by
trivia.
one. I'm down
Let's
to go
go
one by
1 by 1.
one.
Okay, six to we're on 7.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah.
we
Kick
agree
it
on
off.
7. We
Yeah, we
agree
agree
on,
on that's yeah. Hit
and
it.
that's going to be Empoli. Listen, I think that everybody understands why Empoli's at this point, this high up in the table. Look at the match. Look at the teams that they played and where they are in the table. If you started the season, all 3 of us had Empoli in relegation form. They played Torino, Juventus, Roma, Bologna, Cagliari, and Monza. So and Lazio and Fiorentina. Some strong, some not so strong. But them being at where are they sitting in the table? At 10 against when they have those teams that they were playing up against is a flat out win for Empoli. They've only allowed 4 goals this season. The only team to allow less is Juventus. In their last 5, 3 draws, 1 win, 1 loss. For a team like Empoli, that is how you finish high in the table. You get draws. You get the point because you're not going to be able to win every single game, but you need to hold on to the draw. And Empoli is showing that they can do that and that they can even squeak out some wins in these games. Very, very good showing from Empoli this season. I hope it continues for them and they prove us wrong. They continue to prove us wrong.
Definitely. And at this point, I don't think there's anything else to prove. Like they have gone through the hardest stretch of the season that they're probably going to have in terms of opponent level of skill. Like you can kind of exhale here and now say, okay, guys, we're good enough to get points in these games. Let's start bringing it up the table. Like, let's bring it to a couple teams. The other thing that I really like about what's going on with Empoli is defending well as a unit, but then on the flip side of things, their forwards are all scoring. Giassi, 7 games, 2 goals. Colombo, 7 games, 2 goals. Esposito, 7 games, 2 goals. Like the guys that you need to score goals are scoring goals, and you're pretty much at a goal a game. For a team like this, that's we're going to sit deep and not concede. If you go goal a game, that's great. That's kind of what you need, especially when you're against even the best teams. You're not conceding.
If you go goal a game and you are as compact if you've been as they've been all season, you're like as I said, you're going to do what Empoli need to do. You're going to get the draw and you're going to get results and you're going to get points. Because Empoli, I would say against what 85% of the league need to play for a draw, not a win.
And they're aware of that, which is why they're ahead of a lot of these teams. And that's the reason I've hammered Como. Granted, they've gotten better.
Hmm.
Verona, perfect example. You gotta get results sometimes and know who you are. Empoli is completely aware of who they are, and they're playing it perfectly.
Correct. Moving up 6. You want to start us off with 6?
Yeah, so at 6, I have my favorite team in the league, Atalanta. The reason I don't have them higher is they haven't done enough in the league to leapfrog any of these other teams. For me to break into that next level, that top 5, you have to have been doing well and continue to done well. Atalanta have been very roller coaster in the league, although it seems like it has been getting better because in Europe they've been very good. And then in the last couple of games, they've been better and they have dropped points that they shouldn't have. But again, the last 5, 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. That knocks you out of your top 5 right now. Like that's not good enough in the league for some of the games you've been in and games you should have won. And while I don't think they're going to finish here, I still have them finishing top 4 in my mind. They haven't done enough to knock anybody out for me. Period. Like everybody is hot, but you need to convert chances now. Until you show that and until you start winning games consistently, because for Atalanta, losses are unacceptable and draws against lower level teams are unacceptable. They should hold themselves to the same standard as Inter Milan, Juventus, Napoli. That's who you are now, and you have to
Roma,
live up
yeah.
to that standard.
I agree. Okay. I mean, I have Atlanta slightly higher, but good points. I have Lazio at 6. Lazio, I have at 6. Last 5 games, they've went draw, win, loss, win, win in that order. The reason why I don't have Lazio higher than what because Lazio are in good form right now is because there's no consistency here with Lazio, right? You can get them scoring 1 goal, you can get them scoring 3 goals. I have no idea what's going to happen on the field for Lazio. I kind of have a similar viewpoint of Lazio like you do it with Milan. I don't know game in and game out. I have no idea what's going to happen. They do play aggressive soccer. So they allow themselves to be open, and it's allowed them to have allowed a lot of goals this season, right? And so they need to kind of shore up the back, right? They have 14 goals this season, which is great, but they've allowed in 11 goals for. So if they're going to continue to allow these goals to happen, I think that eventually some of these wins might turn to draws or losses with how open they are, but they've been one of the most exciting teams to watch. They're overachieving in my brain, and Nuno, uh, what's his name? Nuno
Tavares.
Tavares is absolutely balling. He's been a great addition to the Serie A, but I think that their consistency is why I have them at 6 and not slightly higher.
I'm gonna give you my spiel on them in a second here.
About to give you. I'll go next for
Yeah,
fifth
you go next.
because
Yeah,
you had Atalanta at 6. Reason why I have Atalanta at 5 is because they have the most goals in the league, tied with Inter at 16. Right? They've allowed 13 goals, right? But they got demolished by Inter. They allowed 4 goals or 5 goals against Inter. So you take that away because Inzaghi already knows how to beat the Gasparini system. Their goal differential is much stronger, right? It's like 16-8 or so.
the other
And
thing I will say on that is if you take into expected goals against, they're in first place in the league. So they
but
have the best like differential, better than everybody.
yeah, that's why I have them high because
Yeah, fair. No,
and
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
like if you play Atalanta, they're getting 3 goals. So it's like, can we defend well enough to not let our opponent score 3 goals? I think that they're lacking at center back. So some games the answer to that question is going to be no. But you would assume that the answer to that question most of the time should be yes, and you would assume Atalanta gets the job done. And they're coming off a demolishing win against Genoa. They're playing well in the European League, like you said. So we're going to take that, continue to roll, and that's why I have Atalanta at 5.
yeah, and it was very hard for me to put them this low. because I do love them and everything that's going on. I'm loving. I couldn't take other teams out. I think Kasunu has come in and started playing so well, but 8 goals in the last 2 games is insane. 5 against Genoa, 3 against Shakhtar. Crazy. At 5, I have Udinese. And on strength of squad alone, they have no business being up here. But
Or
again,
schedule.
or schedule, fair, or schedule. But based off of form, based off of how they started the season, they haven't done enough for me to knock them out of here. Last 5, 3 wins, draw, loss. That's better than some of the teams even above them we have here, and that's better than almost everybody below them here. That's very good. If you maintain that sort of form the rest of the season, you're going to finish in this spot. They're fifth right now in the league. Fifth is where I have them in my rankings. I think it's pretty well deserved. And again, while I think Atalanta is better than them and is going to leapfrog them, Udinese hasn't done anything to lose this spot for me. And if we're going off of the power ranking, this is where we're at. I think they deserve to be here. And I don't really have a ton more to say beyond that. What I will say is Lorenzo Luca, their striker, was linked to Juve as of this morning.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
maybe a January transfer or something like that. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. But Udinese, they have a tough run of games coming up, and it's going to be a make or break here. They're either going to stay right here or they're going to fall down.
It's Udinese's schedule coming up is sprinkled with easy and also sprinkled with tough. So they have a favorable draw in terms of schedule, unlike Venezia, right? Like they have Milan next, but then they go to Calgary, which is tough to break down. But you expect them to Calgary come to them actually. Then they go to Venezia.
That's a terrible game. This year, I think that's one of the hardest games to win.
Yeah, I agree. And then Juventus and Atalanta back to back. So
And
those
then
4 games,
Empoli.
yeah. No, yeah, that's a tough run of games there. I agree. So we'll see how they look coming out of November and where they're at. Moving on to 4. You want to take 4? Because you
Yeah, I think
have
yours is
yeah.
going to be a longer discussion. So 4 for me, I have Lazio. This is kind of funny. I think the rest of my tables matches the actual table. Oh yeah, my 5-1 matches the actual table. Okay, I have Lazio in at 4. I think they deserve to be here. I have been blown away by how good they've been. I think it's a couple of things. Baroni's tactics have been very good. I know they haven't been great defensively, but it's been good enough where they're kind of conceding like 1 goal a game, really. And the way they're playing offensively is outpacing that for the most part. Most of their wins have been 2-1, 3-1 sort of thing. There was a 3-2. I think there were 2 3-2s. But I expect Baroni, who's more of kind of a defensive coach, more or less. At least that's what he was at Verona. He had a very good structure there. To figure that out a little bit more, I think that they're getting better, and all the players are continuing to get better and playing better. Tati Castellanos, we keep talking about Lazio. Everything they're doing, we like, apart from the defensive piece of it, which is limitations in how good their center backs are. On top of that, Providel, their goalkeeper, hasn't been great. Like, he hasn't done anything well. He hasn't done anything too bad. You would like to see him start stealing a game here and there. But I haven't seen anything from Lazio that says they're not going to win the big games going forward. And I fully expect them to continue to score goals against the weaker opposition. The Nuno Tavares ad this year and what he's been able to do and add that service into the box is kind of what sparked this, I think, to a little bit, because he's been feeding Castellanos and Dia off the left when they're kind of not only on the counterattack, but also in possession and be able to do something a little bit more on the ball, which is they're just a very malleable team and they're hard to play against and they can play in a couple different ways. And if you switch off against them, they're going to hurt you kind of thing. Like they can counter you out of nowhere. They possess it well between the Guendouzi and Ravella pivot is a big part of this for me too. I think they've figured that partnership out and it's very good. And I think we haven't seen Zaccagni's best level yet either. So if we can get him going a little bit more, they're very good. I just think they're very good and they deserve to be here. They're just not better than anybody above them. I'll be interested to see if Atalanta can leapfrog them because in my mind, I'm saying Atalanta is better than Lazio, but I'm not sure.
Lazio have their after the international break. Their next game is at Juventus, so that'll be a great game to watch. I just think that a lot of Lazio's players right now, we might be seeing their peak, and can they
Yeah,
hold? How long
that's a
can
good
they
point.
hold? How long can they hold that form for? And as I mentioned, they are open in the back. But my number 4 is your number 9, your ex favorite team, Logue's favorite team, AC Milan. Reason why I have them at number 4 is because in the last 5 games in order, they have a draw, 3 wins, and a loss. That loss was just happened against Fiorentina. I think they deserved to win that game. They had 8 shots on target to Fiorentina's 3. They had 61% possession to Fiorentina's 39. They missed 2 penalties. I know that's awful, and you need to make your penalties, but like you got to make your PKs. Like if they make their PKs, they win that game. The only down part right now that they can't really figure out and why you have them at 9, I think, is their defense. They allow a lot of goals to happen, right? They've allowed 9 goals in 7 games, which is not what you expect from Milan. And you have your 2 center backs, one being Tomori, who runs around with the chicken with his head cut off, and then Pavlovic, who kind of has like spurt tendencies to lose focus for 15 minutes and to be able to beat him. Although I thought he had a great start to the season, we saw kind of why he was only a $15 million player in the Champions League. And then we have the whole section or the whole topic of the right back, but we're not even going to get into there. But I think that in the last 5 games, they have started to figure it out. And what I mean by that is obviously, like I said, they have 3 wins in the last 4. The one game they lost was against Fiorentina, kind of a fluke loss, outplayed them. Other than that, they have started to smack teams. They beat Inter, which is a huge win. They destroyed Lecce 3-0. They destroyed Venezia 4-0. Tammy Abraham and Morata are starting to kind of get a good partnership. Pulisic is firing. Reinders is playing well. Fofana is starting to learn his spot. Really, the only players that are lacking is Liao, and a little bit of Tio, but they have such moments of brilliance throughout the game that sometimes it doesn't matter that they're lacking. But you would expect those two to figure it out eventually. And so if they figure it out, if you guys can figure out the defense, I think that you're going to continue to roll. But I think that the last 5 games, who you played and who you beat is pretty telling. And that's why I have them at number 4.
Couple counterpoints. Number one,
Okay.
the Venezia in Lecce games added +7 goal differential for them. I think that skews our perception of like where they're at in terms of scoring a ton of goals. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, 3-0 and 4-0, but then they beat Inter
yeah,
2-1. They
I'm not
tied
gonna. I think
Lazio 2-2.
The Inter one is the one that I would pull out as great result. What I will say is since the Murata Tammy formation shift, I'll be interested to see when they come against good opposition, are they going to be able to score as many goals? Because although you're throwing another striker on there, I think you're actually getting a little less creative, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you're being forced to play a little bit differently. I think this Udinese game is going to be very good. This will be a good barometer for are you going to be able to score and are you going to be able to defend. Same thing with the Bologna game. Even I think if their defense is poor, I think Bologna will exploit them, and they're at Bologna, so it's going to be an interesting game. I don't know how these are going to go. I don't feel great about either of them from a Milan perspective. I don't think they're going in. Are you confident they're going to win both those games? I'm not.
Who they play? Udinese at
Udinese at
Milan.
home, and
And
then
I'm confident they win both those games. They're going to outscore Bologna, and Udinese is not the best on the road.
all right, it'll be interesting. But I mean, everything you said is true. But yeah, the Inter game is big. Like getting that result, like keeps them where they are. Like if they lost that game, Fonseca literally probably would have gotten fired. And number two, it makes us think maybe they're what they're capable of being.
Yeah. I'm looking ahead to number 3 right now, and I'm disagreeing with. We both have them at 3, and I disagree with it. I don't know who I would have over them. But just so the Paisans know, I'll fill you guys in. We both have Juventus at 3. Looking at their form in the last 5 games, it's draw, 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 win, draw. That is not a scary or a good result for Juventus with 4 draws and 1 win. However, I think that because of the fact that they've only allowed 1 goal, and that goal being from a PK, that's maybe why I had them this high, right? Because it's almost impossible to score on them. However, Bremer just tore his ACL, so now it's going to be like, is that still going to be the case without Bremer, right? They do have 10 goals for, but those goals are very spotty, right? They either score 3 goals a game or they score 0. And so that's something that they need to figure out. And I mean, just look at their last games. They tied against Calgary. That's a terrible result. Tied
Terrible
against
result.
or win 3-0 against Genoa. Good. You did what you needed to do there. Napoli in the Allianz 0-0 draw. I'd say that favored Napoli. At Empoli 0-0 draw. I'd say that favors Empoli. In the Allianz against Roma 0-0 draw. I'd say that favors Roma. So 4 results in a row. The result did not favor Juventus. So they are high on the table, and I think that is why maybe we had slight bias. And they're very hard to break down, and that's why we might have had them at 3. Because at the end of the day, if Juventus can get 1, they're probably going to win. But now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if they deservedly deserve to be number 3 in the power rankings.
I think they do because what would knock them out of there is their offensive capabilities, essentially, right? Because they've only conceded 1 goal. But when you take into account what they've been able to do in Europe against PSV and against Leipzig, and those are kind of like the more recent games they've been playing, they look like one of the best teams in the world.
That's a good point.
So
That
I
is a
think
valid point.
that's what gets them there for me. And there's so much positive energy around the club right now and around every player, even outside of Douglas Luiz. I would say like everybody is like these players can get so far. Like these players are so good, and every week they are getting better. Again, I mean, they didn't. Did they win against Calgary? No. If they win that game, they're tied for first in the league right now, and they would have conceded no goals 7 games in, and they shouldn't have conceded a goal. Like they
That's a good
fucked
point.
up. Douglas
That's a
Luiz
very good
fucked up,
point.
and like I'm kind of taking that out. Granted, like it's still a result, like it happened. We can't do the logs, like the fake result. Where are we at? So I think that's part of it. The other thing is that Dusan Vlahovic is scoring goals, yes, but he's
PKs.
not. He's missing a lot of goals,
Yeah.
which to me says the offense has the capability of scoring more. They just have had a blunt striker kind of being at the end of everything. To see, in at some point, Dusan is going to have a spurt where he scores like 4 or 5 games in a row and
I
puts
mean,
in a
he's
fucking
in that
million
spurt
goals
right now, though. Low
with
key,
PKs, with
with
PKs and
PKs.
shit.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, but coming off the Leipzig game is kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yes, I am. And to your point, like the belief, the character this team shows each game, and the Leipzig one obviously really just goes to show how much belief and character this team has going down a man and winning in Leipzig. They haven't seemed to been able to carry it over to the league yet, the Serie A yet, but you think that it's coming eventually. And as we've been saying throughout this whole entire episode, what wins you this league is defense, is not conceding. That will always be true for Italian teams, and them only allowing 1 goal, and that goal, as you said, not being what it shouldn't have happened, is pretty huge. And that is, you make good points on why they're 3.
Yeah, and the good team to kind of compare them to is Bologna, I would say, in terms of what they're trying to do is similar. Like they want to be, they're going to bring it to teams and be ball dominant. I get that Mate is fine, like we can counterattack, but they kind of want to be tricky, hold possession, and score. And the difference between them and Bologna is the goals conceded. Like their shape is set up to be okay if we lose the ball. Bologna less so, and the number two is they've been more clinical on the front end, and that's what gets you up here in the league.
Correct. And that's why we have them at 3. Number 2, we have another, we agree again, and that's going to be Inter. Do you want to talk about why you have Inter
I
at
I
2?
want to talk about it, but I don't know why I have Inter ahead of Juve. I I I don't know. I don't know why they're ahead of Juve. They have last five, 3 wins, a draw, and a loss.
I
Marcus
think
Thuram? I think Marcus like, is that
Thuram,
my
Thuram,
answer?
and just them, knowing who they are, what they did last year, what we
Yeah.
expect them to do this year, the potential of what they can do is like, that's probably why you have them above Juventus.
I think, but like I would assume like in my head like I would think of this: Inter defensive structure amazing, offense amazing, but it's really just been Marcus Thuram willing them to victory in every game because of who they are and because they are in second place right now. I guess it's they're doing enough. I still think they probably haven't hit their highest gear, and a lot of players haven't. Barella's been out. Dumfries has kind of been coming back to full fitness.
Lautaro
But the
figuring it
fact that
out.
they're still up here and they're still getting results is, I guess, well, here's the thing: they're getting results. It just hasn't been pretty. So I think that's why they make it here because
They
it
also
might
have
get
more
prettier.
goals scored. They just have to figure out they have to iron out the defense, which is kind of shocking to me because they didn't. Yes, they didn't add anybody, but they also didn't lose anybody, and this was the best defense in the top 5 European leagues last year, and now they've allowed 9 goals in 7 games. So you assume they would figure that out, they'll iron that out at some point in the season, right? Their goals are already there, and Lautaro, who is going to be on the short list of the Ballon d'Or, hasn't started really got off the floor yet, right? They haven't implemented Dumfries yet, who we know is good for 8 goals, 4 assists in a season, and can play 90 minutes of every single game. They got one of the best midfielders in the league on a free in Zelensky, haven't really implemented him yet. Will they implement them? We're not sure. It doesn't seem like they really want to, but they're going to have to eventually. And because of that strength and depth, that in the middle of this season, when those guys are fully in form, that's when it's going to take place, I think. And that's when we're going to be like, this is why Inter was ahead of Juve 7 games in. This is who Inter are. This is why Inter was the favorite to win the league going in. I think still probably should be the favorite to win the league because of the depth of the team and the strength of the team and their history. They just really need to figure out their off or their defense and then have Lautaro be Lautaro again.
I agree, and it's just a weird one because they haven't been bad. It's not as pretty as it wasn't that beautiful Calcio that we saw last year.
Correct.
And maybe that is
Besides
because
besides against Atalanta, which was
yeah, it was
beautiful.
beautiful. It was a
And
clinic.
Manchester City was good
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, maybe it's is it Dumfries and Barella being that big of a loss? I'm not. I don't think so. I don't know what it is. I don't think the players are psychologically there yet. Is
It's
what
also
I
just
keep
harder
going
to
back to.
win, right? Inzaghi said it as well. It's harder to win when you're at the top. Monza and everyone's going to give you their A game. So Inter have to be locked in for 90 minutes because their opponent's going to be locked in for 90 minutes. And if Inter take a 10-minute break or have a 10-minute lapse in concentration, which they tend to do in the 80th minute for some reason, they allow goals. So they have to iron that out, which I think that they will. And Zaggy sweats through 3 shirts a game. He's gonna iron it out.
And Jan Sommer has been very bad. I will say, important thing to keep watching. But that brings us to number one, Mats. I'm going to let you say it because it's
Napoli. We both have Napoli at number one. I called it from the start. It's obviously only 7 games in, so let's not count our eggs too quickly. But Conte knows the league. Conte got the players that he wanted. It took him a while to get them, but they got it done. De Laurentiis did get it done. The Napoli team from 2 seasons ago that ran away with the Scudetto, they still have a lot of players on that squad who made large contributions to that. And then they've added some mix in pieces. Bongiorno is going to probably win center back of the league this year. David Neres looks great off the bench. Lukaku looks like he is in his Inter form under Conte. And so that's why they're rolling. Their last 5 games, win, win, draw, win, win. They have 14 goals for, which is tied for the third most. And they have 5 goals allowed against, which is the second
and that's
least.
with that 3-0 Hellas Verona loss at the beginning of the year. Like
Since that game, with including the Coppa Italia game, I believe Napoli has scored 20 goals and allowed 2 since the Hellas Verona game. Now, they haven't played the strongest of teams to start, right? They had Bologna, they beat 3-0. Parma, they beat 2-1. Calgary 4-0. Juventus 0-0. Monza 2-0. Como 3-1. So these aren't, oh my goodness, they're not getting Atalanta, Inter Milan, which Torino, Roma, which they do have. That in their next 6 games, it's Empoli, Lecce, Milan, Atalanta, Inter, Roma, Torino. So
Hard run.
Lazio, Udinese. Wow, that's really
That's a
hard.
very
So
hard run.
so
Yeah,
we
but
will see.
this is on the back of this, right? Like they haven't had the hardest schedule, but this is Conte ball. Like this is what he does. The one hard game, what they do? We'll take 0-0. Like he's not going to let anybody catch him. Like he's going to beat everybody that he needs to beat, and then everybody that needs to catch him, it's on you to beat us. Like we're not going to lose. Like so you got to beat us to catch us. And that's what he wants and that's what they're doing.
Correct. And then they're going to overcommit, and Conte's going to sit in the shell and counter. And that's what I said. He knows the league. He knows, and it goes back to that one game a week gives him the advantage to prep the entire week for that game, and put the players in good places in order to beat those teams. And as you mentioned, when they go to Inter, I'm sure he's going to play for a draw, right?
Yeah, 100%.
When they go to Milan, he's playing for a draw, but they're going to beat Como. They're going to beat Parma. They're going to beat Calgary. They're going to beat Lecce, which they've already done, which they are doing, and they're going to just. And also, I'll give Conte credit, and I'll give Spalletti credit too, because it was the same thing back when Napoli won the Scudetto 2 years ago. The players all look like they are in love with each other. David Neres scores, they get pumped up. Cavada's not throwing a fit if he gets subbed off. Lukaku's happy that he's getting assists. Di Lorenzo's happy he's scoring. Labaka and McTominay just came from the Prem and is loving his life in the Serie A. So Conte's really got a great balance, great competition within the squad, has everybody bought in, has everyone committed to the one goal. It's really, really nothing but sunshine and rainbows in Naples. But we do know who is down there in Naples, and it's De Laurentiis and it's Conte. And one wrong turn, it could blow up. It could blow up.
That is true. That is 100% true. But yeah, I mean, Napoli are number one here because they are the best at everything so far, is kind of what I would say. They have the best defender in the league right now, and they have
The
the
best player,
best
Cavada,
player, and I would say best striker right now, and Big Rom. I mean,
Marcus Thuram.
Marcus Thuram, yeah.
He's one of three. It's Retegui, Thuram, Lukaku.
Lukaku just looks.
4 assists.
I don't remember him being this, even on Inter. I don't remember him being this complete of a player where like he was always good at holding up play because like he's just massive, but he has like this like touch of finesse that he never had. Like he played a couple passes that I was like, I have never seen Lukaku do that. And it's Conte, him and Conte. I
Yeah,
don't understand it. It's insane. And Kvaratskhelia is I will say it the rest of the year. He is the best player in the league. He is
I
fucking
agree.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and then pound for pound, maybe not depth wise, but top three, you can put their midfield up against Inter, against Milan, against Juventus, and have of the same caliber in Labaka, Zombo, and McTominay or Billy Gilmore now.
Eh,
So it's not like they're going to get overran in the midfield. They have
That
a
midfield has
absolute
legs
machines. They're all machines besides Labaka, but Zombo and
and
Scott can
McTominay.
do the running for him. And then they have probably the best counterattacking player, the best player in the league in Cavada. Strong defense, solid goalie, great striker. Politano and David Neres on the right hand side to mix and match. Spinazzola's been around the league as well. He's going to be big to lean on as the season goes. So a very well constructed team. We know Conte knows how to do that. He knows his guys. It's all coming together right now. They're extremely hot. That's why we have them at number one. They have an extremely hard schedule coming up. We will see where they come out at the end of December. I'm very, very excited for the break to end, even though it just started. A lot of good games that we've kind of previewed throughout this power ranking. This was a fun episode. Got to do this more without Logs. What do you think? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts there,
we're
Bose?
absolutely flying. We're flying through it. Great conversations, really making it happen here. But I do want to get back to Napoli really quick because I just thought of two really important things. Number one, the emergence of Alex Moret being very good, massive. He has stolen several goals already
Parma, he
this year.
stole for
I
them
don't
for
know what
sure.
happened, but he figured it out. And then number two, we have to give a big, big shout out to Antonio Conte for changing shape. Adding
Correct.
Scott
Good shout.
McTominay,
Good shout.
like we've talked about it, but adding the third midfielder changed the entire thing. Like they looked so much better after he did that. Like they clearly needed it because the Anguissa Lobotka didn't have enough legs, and he recognized that and said, "We don't need three center backs. We have Di Lorenzo, we have Lucas Oliveira who can kind of tuck in when we need him. Let's just add a guy with more legs in there to just figure it out who also can score goals." And
That's a
also
good
shout at
shout.
him for recognizing, let's put McTominay at cam because Manchester United fans were calling out for that for years and years and years and years because he was so good when he did get high up the field. And what does he do? Scores a goal in the first fucking minute. Like this guy's a
Two goals,
legend.
2 goals, 2 games in a row. He scored a goal. One in the
This
Coppa
might be
Italia.
Antonio Conte's masterpiece. Like if he
Which
does
is
this,
crazy because he's done so much, and it's even crazier that he's never ran a 4-3-3. He's always 3 4
yeah,
2 1 three
it's
five two.
insane.
His teams start to struggle, and reporters are like, "Hey, have you thought about maybe switching the formation?" And Conte's like, "Go fuck yourself. I'm not switching anything." Conte didn't let it get to that point. He said, "You know what? Let me change my ways. Maybe it didn't work so well with Tottenham. I've been around this league. I've been around soccer, football, calcio for so long. Maybe people have figured out my 3-4-2-1. Let me fucking go 4-3-3 and let's see if they can
Yeah,
if
it's
it
unbelievable.
exactly."
And I think we talked. We're going a little long here, but I just have one more question I want to ask you. We talked about it with Inzaghi. We talked about some other guys. Where does Antonio Conte sit in terms of pure legendary coaches? Like, because
He
he
if
doesn't.
he
I don't
wins
think. I don't think he needs this.
He doesn't. But if he wins this Scudetto, and
Oh my
I
goodness!
said this before the start of the season, he is the best Italian coach ever. If he wins this Scudetto, if he won it with
Better than
Napoli, won it with
Ancelotti.
Inter, Ancelotti coaches better teams.
Yeah, that is
The best
true.
the best Serie A coach ever. He'd have won the Scudetto with 3 teams. He'd have won 2 Scudettos the year after finishing below the top 7. He is the one that kind of
Premier League he won. Like,
done it in the Prem. He's catapulted Inter to this what they've been, right? So he will be, for me, in my opinion, the best coach to have ever coached in this, or the best manager to coach in the Serie A.
yeah, and I
And
think he'll
without the
definitely.
Scudetto, to answer the question, without the Scudetto, he still might be.
He still might be. That's yeah. No, like I agree. Like I'm thinking, like he has to be like top 10 at minimum, right? Best coaches
Yeah,
ever. If he does this, that's like that would be unbelievable if he can do this.
yeah,
It would be
and I
insane.
think he's going to.
It we have him doing it right now. Number one, agreed upon. Yeah,
Well,
but
no,
that
this is a power ranking, not projection. This is power ranking.
yeah, we have been very clear on that. But that's it for us, guys. If you there is some calcio this weekend. We got Italy in action against who they're playing. They're playing Belgium tomorrow, I think. Yeah, they're playing Belgium tomorrow, 11:45. Oh, this is on Pacific time. Ignore my times. And then they're playing Israel on Monday. I hate the Nations League, but we got it going on. As always, follow us at Calcio Culture FC. We're on everything. Again, Apple Pods. Sounds a little bit better. I listen on there. I don't know.
Apple Pod's the way to go, guys, and you get the video.
And you get the video. Apple Pods is where it's at. But we'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about on Monday. We'll obviously be giving you previews next Wednesday. But this was a good one, Motts. Good conversation. I love power rankings. Power rankings is fucking awesome.
Love power rankings. Hope you paisanos enjoyed it. Please comment if you want us to talk about anything else. If you have any ideas, we'd love to talk a bit. We're going to start expanding, maybe getting some of these paisanos on the pod, so stay alert for that. But we love it. We love you. We love Calcio. We will see you guys all on Monday. Do not be a gagoots, and Forza Calcio Culture.